welcome to 5 Minute Friday. I'm so glad you clicked on this video. My name's Steve Smith. I'm one of the ministers here at the Beltline Church of Christ, and we are in the middle of a series of lessons looking chronologically at the life of Jesus Christ, and we have arrived at the Sermon on the Mount. Trey and I call it the Kingdom Manifesto, and this sermon is simply amazing. Jesus heads up the side of a mountain and sits down and begins to teach his disciples and everyone who had gathered there that day. And for nearly 2,000 years, attempts have been made to establish the location where this sermon was delivered. And the reality is, we just don't know the exact site. Now, if you were to go to that region of the world, you would find a church called the Church of the Beatitudes that stands at the summit of a Galilean hillside, traditionally known as the Mount of the Beatitudes. This church was completed in 1938, and it was built near some 4th century Byzantine ruins that commemorated the Sermon on the Mount. Early pilgrims actually marked a rock-cut cistern to mark the location where they believe Jesus said these words, and the Church of the Beatitudes now covers that spot. I'm told that the views from this church are absolutely amazing. You can see the lake and it's stunning, and you can see the synagogue at Capernaum through the trees to the north. To the south, you can see the houses of Tiberias covering the hillside. And while we don't know the exact location of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, man, we know that those hillsides echo with his words. And the landscape on these few slopes seem perfect for a spontaneous amphitheater. And it was here on a mountainside, at a location not far from Capernaum, in the midst of a crowd of people, that Jesus started his Sermon on the Mount by proclaiming what we know as the Beatitudes. Now, as a youngster growing up, I thought they were called the Beatitudes because this was how you were supposed to be. This is what you were supposed to do. This is how you were supposed to act. Well, I've since learned that that's just not quite right. In fact, beatitude is a Latin word that simply means blessed, and so that's where this idea of beatitudes comes from. But I want to ask you a question about these beatitudes. Do you think that these are orders given by Jesus to be obeyed, or are they blessings given by Jesus to be enjoyed? Are they orders or blessings? I know in my life growing up, these words were orders. Work hard to be like these what Jesus says in these 12 verses. But I've come to understand that I think that actually misses the point. In fact, I think it may be impossible to live out the commands of the Sermon on the Mount without first receiving the blessings that Jesus wants to give. Because if you try to live out the commands of this sermon without being blessed by God, without feeling loved by God, without knowing that God is holding you close to his side, then you're going to grind away, and I don't think you're ever going to get where you want to get. Because we can't gain God's favor by keeping these commands. And we don't try to make ourselves loved by keeping these commands. No, we act, we obey because we know we're already loved. I borrowed heavily from Randy Harris in this little video, and I like Randy Harris a lot. I like what he has to say. He's a great author, a great preacher. He wrote a book on the Sermon on the Mount entitled Living Jesus, and I want to just share with you one thought that he has. He says this: when the people came out to the mountain to see Jesus that day, nobody brought a pencil, nobody brought a notebook, and they weren't there looking for a seminar. They were out there looking for life. And the first words out of Jesus' mouth to these people is this: you are blessed. Now, my guess is that there may be a few of us who need a blessing too. I know I could sure use one. The world has a way of telling us that we're not good enough, that we don't measure up, that we're somehow less than. And if that's you, then my guess is you're coming to this teaching of Jesus needing a blessing too. And the Sermon on the Mount begins with a blessing, not a command. Blessings for people who usually, aren't blessed. And so do you believe this morning or this afternoon, whenever you may be watching this video, that you are blessed by God? The reality is that there are more losers in the world than there are winners. There are a lot more people who are poor and on the outside looking in of society than those who are at the top of the food chain, so to speak. And Jesus' words cry out to those of us who have ears to hear, regardless of what the world says about you. The truth of the matter is that in God's eyes, you are blessed. I can't wait to dive deeper into the Sermon on the Mount on Sunday. I hope you'll join us, whether online or in person, as we continue looking chronologically at the life of Jesus Christ, the greatest life that's ever lived. Until we get together on Sunday, I hope you'll have a great week. I hope you'll be blessed. I hope you'll put in a good word for Jesus everywhere you go. Take care, and God bless you.